Welcome back to the First, the Last, the Nerdom, the podcast where we explore the strange, the fantastic, and everything nerdy in between. And this week we're jumping into another installment of our special series, Binge Worthy. Here's the deal: we pick a TV show we like or are curious about, watch the first few episodes, and then ask the big question: is it worth diving deeper, or does it stop short of a must-watch status? This time we're heading into uncharted territory with the brand new sci-fi series Alien Earth, a show that dares to ask what happens when our planet is no longer just ours. A, with a mix of mystery, world building, and cosmic dread, Alien Earth blends speculative sci-fi fiction with survival drama, pulling us into a story where humanity must confront both the vastness of space and the terror of the unknown. Over the first three or so episodes, we've seen strange new landscapes, unsettling discoveries, and the creeping sense that Earth itself is becoming something alien. But the real question for us is, has this series hooked us enough to keep watching, or is it destined to be left behind in the streaming void? So strap in, watch the skies, and prepare for the unfamiliar. Because this week on Binge Worthy, we're venturing into Alien Earth right here, right now on the First Last Nerdom. I'm Tom, and I'm here with Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Very, very good. How about you, my friend?
Great. Yeah, and I've been bugging you about watching this series, and
Great.
finally, you relented and said yes, yes, Tom, stop bugging me. We will do this movie or do this series. Yeah, I started watching this. I didn't watch it straight off. I left a week or two go by before diving into this, and I was instantly hooked. And I kept asking you, let's do this, let's do this. And but we were on our journey with our British comedies,
Yes.
and so we had to ride that road. And originally, I kind of saw this binge-worthy series as maybe a month-long kind of
Right.
thing where we kind of do it. But we were having so much fun. You pulled an audible and said, let's keep doing
Man,
this, man. And
love it.
we hadn't even got to all of them that we were going planning on doing. So as long as a lot of times when we do our kind of side shows, they get far less views than our regular podcasts. So those kind of disappear after a while. But this is doing not too bad for us. So since people are watching, we're going to keep going. And by gosh, Mike's going to tell us who we are and what we do here before we
Absolutely.
get
Yeah.
into the show here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Tom. Great, great, great intro. And I'm so excited to crack in on this one. But first, we got to pay the bills. We got to put a plug, do the plugging. Newly acquired, newly made earlier this month, Mike finally got off his butt and made the website, like I have told the audience for years. And God bless Tom for having the patience with me. But I gotta say, yeah, firstlastnerdom.com is where you'll find us, home base there. If you scroll down, it'll give you the last carousel of the last 10 videos that we just published. Matter of fact, if I hit this one, we should see. Yep, there it is, right there, right on time. You can see.
Yep, we're doing Zombie Month on our
Yep.
main
Of
podcast.
course,
Yep.
that was from Sunday's show, and we're well on our way into this binge worthy or not. But you can also meet the nerds, me and Tom. A little bio, little URLs. Maybe, just maybe, we'll do a newsletter or blog or something like that in the future. So keep your eyes peeled. I really like how this website came out, by the way. But we'll see if I'm fickle and it sticks around, because I do have a habit of that. Although this is a real website, whereas before I tried to make something into a website, it wasn't a website and it was too nerdy. Didn't work. But anyway, as always, you can find us at First Last Nerdom on YouTube, home base forever and always. As long as we don't get copyright struck off the face of the earth by some dipshit who, maybe they bought a movie and maybe they're zealous and they're overzealous and they try to suppress genuine enthusiasm for that movie. But that's okay. That's okay. We will always be
But
here
we
for you.
fight the power.
Yes, we will. We will. But with that being said, Tom, what's going over there on the good old Reddit?
Oh, I'm just trolling the subreddits and seeing what's what. If you're coming here from a Reddit post that I made, hey Reddit. But yeah, yeah, it's kind of fun to see which Reddit subreddit will have us. I won't post it anywhere that isn't appropriate, but still people find it annoying sometimes when you do somewhat of a self promotion. That seems to be a bad thing. But yeah, but who's going to find out about us and love us if we don't try to spread that love? But
Right.
please love us. But no, I'm also on X as well, both under FirstLastNerdom. And then if you refresh it, I just found while I was trolling while you were setting up things, I found an interesting poster for Ghost World.
Very interesting.
Very yeah, yeah, very fascinating. Certain style of art. A group of individuals do art in that vein, and very interesting. But yeah, I'm and you're on X as well. But I promote our stuff on X. If you follow me, you'll find some weird stuff, but you also find whenever we post a video, I'll promote it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll give you a repost here. Yeah, I too am also on good old X, aka Elon's Twitter. It at ApeIt_Ink. Occasionally, Tom and I will converse on the finer points of nerddom. I'm also co-host on Step Into Cafe Americana, Professor Kenny's YouTube Sunday news show. Comes out every Sunday. We were off last Sunday. We were back this Sunday. Go check it out. Always in depth conversation. If you're hankering for that. Also have a longer form, kind of fun, kind of long, kind of politics, kind of anything and everything. Kind of fun stuff. I need to do more tech stuff on it. But ApeIt.Ink on Substack. And as always, we're fitting in tight here with Alien Earth. As promised, and I got to tell you, I was so looking forward to talking about this. I didn't. So when we do the show, we kind of hold back and we don't have that conversation, even if it's a little bit of a thing. Sometimes we'll do a little teaser to each other a little bit, and then it'll kind of remind, oh, ask about that or talk about that. But this one, I gotta say, like you, I resisted it a few more weeks longer than you did. I'm so glad I did. I just get into this mode like where if there's something new out, I tend to shy away from it. Just because it's really hard to find a really good TV show nowadays. And not that I
Yeah.
didn't know that I didn't want to watch this because I knew I wanted to watch this eventually. And I had heard good positive things. I didn't really hear any bad things. But boy, I'm glad I waited. I'm glad this came of age. Like I think we're already like mid to late season for this for the There's only 8
Yep.
shows, and we're on
8. Yep.
5 or 6 this
5.
week, depending upon
Yeah.
the. But
Yeah. Are
regardless,
you all caught up on it?
damn near. I am not. I am not caught
Okay.
up on all of 5, but I am on all of 4. And I
Okay. So yeah.
could
Mhm.
not help it because holy shit, Tom. Now the IMDb thing on numbers, we don't really do the number reviews, but if you see up here it says 7.6. I'm gonna say that's bullshit. I'm gonna give this a full 8, 8.5. Just because I've and that's the low side. That's the low side. The high side, I've seen more high side on this show. Why can't they make shows like this of more of just such high quality and I'm not like a super big aliens nerd, but I'm pretty far into it. Like I'm one of the rare nerds that really loved while we're talking about it, and I pulled it up a little bit earlier. I love Prometheus. My kids love Prometheus. Alien Covenant's a little bit not as great as Prometheus. It's fine. Danny McBride did a great fucking job. Michael Fassbender as always. But anyway, I love that because I am familiar with that. I don't think we've talked about or tackled the Alien Romulus one yet. I think that one's still floating out there, which we eventually will circle back around to. So I don't have that, but I believe that it did well enough, good enough. So, that's really all I know. But I gotta say, FX, Fox, Hulu, whatever, the Fox side of the house of the House of Mouse.
Hey, Mike. Hey, ML.
Yeah.
This is Disney.
Right. Well,
Uh,
that's what I was saying. On the FX
yeah.
side, the Fox side of the house,
Mhm.
they really have good quality people. And I've been very impressed by the Predator that was a couple years back. I have no
Mhm.
doubt that I would probably be seeing,
Which the movie's coming out,
yeah, which
later this year
would be the same thing.
in the theaters.
Yeah,
Yep.
which would be the same thing as Romulus, probably more than likely. But
Mhm.
this Alien Earth, never mind all those where we're at today. Very impressed. This reminded me. We covered Penguin last year, I believe. That was kind of the hit
Mhm.
show that was really well
Yeah.
done. Um,
Mhm.
this I again,
This blows it out of the water.
yeah, I gotta say, like, I am very. What are you about? You never mind me raving about it. Like, what do you think, my friend?
Well, yeah, I'd heard about the show, and with all things alien, you gotta take it with a bit of skepticism. We've had some bad dips and dives in Alien, and I love David Fincher. I'll go on and on about how wonderful his movies are, but no matter how you slice it, Alien 3 is a piece of dog turd. I'm sorry. It is. I like I said, I'm a huge fan of Fincher, but yeah, that movie is just not for me. So yeah, there's been some ups and downs with Alien. So some people love Prometheus, some people hate it. I'm on the side of loving it. But yeah, there's a lot of bends and tears. Like there's the Alien versus Predator movies that Ridley Scott says is not canon. So screw that. So yeah, I was coming to this show with slight optimism, saying okay, maybe. But yeah, the two things that got me hyped and ready for the show was two factors. One was Timothy Oliphant. That guy could do no wrong. He's a genius actor. I love that guy. Yeah, if you've
Justified
never seen
fame. Yeah.
Justified, yeah, if you haven't seen that show, stop what you're doing. You stop this podcast and start watching Justified. But yeah, a brilliant actor. But then there's also the fact that the showrunner was Noah Wiley, and immediately I said, "This is going to be good. This is going to be good. Not even good. It's going to be great." Because this guy, he took a show that shouldn't have worked, which was Fargo, a TV show based off of a brilliant movie should not have worked. Should not have worked. Fargo should not work as a series, especially maybe a limited series. Not even you can't do more than one series. A series of seasons of Fargo. Yes, he's repeatedly done it and done a great job with that. He also did a season or two of Legion, which is that based off of a Marvel comic book character, which shouldn't have been good either. Had no right to be good, but was great as well. So I knew in his hands, Alien Earth was going to be something worth watching. So yeah, I was all in. Um, and I was very happy with it. And yeah, I watched the first three episodes. It's like, hey, Mike, we might want to cover this. I didn't I didn't start singing the praises because I didn't want to, you know, spoil Mike's look at it, tamper with his fresh eyes on the series. But yeah, I knew definitely we needed to talk about this. And yeah, watching it was kind of a revelation of, oh, this is why I love Alien. This is why I love Alien. This is why this property works and works so well. And Noah did a fantastic job of capturing. He The first episode he wrote and directed, and I think he did the same on the fifth episode, which we won't go into since Mike hasn't seen it. But it's the look of it is very reminiscent. This is definitely vibes of Alien as opposed to Aliens. Not that James Cameron's Aliens is anything to sneeze at, but this is taking the vibe of the original movie and expanding upon that world. Mike's really big into, and I am as well, world building. And this does a damn fine job of filling out that world. Because a lot of times with when another creator takes over
Right.
another creator's world and expands upon it, they want to put their spin on it. They want to make it their own. Whereas Noah kind of took a backseat and let Ridley Scott's world
Right.
expand as opposed to his world. And this is definitely within that world. You could see that. This is very comparable to the Alien movie, very interchangeable. A lot of the characters, if you take the crew on the ship on this show and contrast it with the ship's crew on Alien, it's almost one to one. I mean, it's very similar, which makes sense. That they'd be hiring the same company would be hiring similar people to staff these this vessel. Yeah, yeah, you watch that original Alien, it was kind of woke. We had a female protagonist as the hero. I say this jokingly, but yeah, this is a show that has a very interesting, diverse cast, and I it's kind of silly to talk about diversity, but this show just shows you what you could do with original
Well,
characters and
I,
just peppering it with interesting and original characters and doing it in a well told story. There is no
the,
discussion about political stuff
the,
and stuff. This is just a good
the,
show. It's a good show. A great show.
this is exactly what when I talk about and I say you have unlimited already well proven storylines with Marvel and DC and whatever. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Go back to the golden age, go to the silver age, da 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 da. You will find something, and then when you obviously bring it to current day, you can absolutely do science fiction is great for this. I mean, um, and I'm not going to go into the whole thing here on the diatribe, but like they perfectly take the concepts, kind of not, I would not say well received versions of Ridley Scott's, Prometheus and Covenant, and they perfectly somehow they perfectly blend into the alien universe to where you don't question it because you have. I agree with you, Tom. I mean, you want to talk about one to one. I mean, the style and the way that things are working, um, it is damn near perfect. Like, and I say that because on the small screen, you can fuck it up fairly easily. But I
Absolutely.
mean, there is no fan service. I don't feel like it's member berries. I don't feel like that at all. I don't feel like it's fan service, like dodgy fan service that we're used to getting, like where you just slap over a bunch of shit, a bunch of the member berries paint on this dead carcass of a franchise. I'm just joking here, but it's so weird and unique. And if you are, it perfectly honors the Prometheus angle. Even though that might not have been well received, um, the concept is so different. You're coming at Alien from a completely different place, and it works, and shockingly well. Like exactly how a science fiction. Up to this point, I would say that Apple TV has they are the best place to go for science fiction, just period. Just in general. But I gotta say, like, I want to see more of this, and if they keep giving us the good quality of this and what we get, and like to where it actually reintroduces the characters and the thing. So if you have to kind of come to this, if you just come to this like from Alien One and Aliens, you might be a little bit confused. Never mind Alien 3, or whatever you want to call it. But if you have at least Prometheus, you're going to be good. Um, Covenant kind of builds on that a little bit more, but you don't have to explicitly see that. But you would be well served if you did watch Prometheus at a very minimum. It would kind of get you in the mode of like where they're at and what's going on a little bit. But how everything works, it just like it also explores way new avenues for the franchise than what you're used to. Like the same people are very used to that cycle in the zombie, in the or not, I was going to say zombie, in the Alien universe. It does this very well. I was so happy, and I couldn't wait. And also I will say this: they don't skimp. They don't skimp at all on the airtime because you get a good hour for each episode. I was gonna say, like I instinctively, because I'm so used to shorter versions of work, mainly probably because of like the mainly due to the last month and a couple weeks, 5 6 weeks we've been watching BBC this or that, and they seem to be shorter. Like I caught myself kind of
All
like
right.
looking over and been like, wow, it's still going on and it's still good. Like, and it's like, and then I would see the scrub bar. I would see that it was like, um it was like, oh wow, I still got the whole episode. I was happy. Like these things that you. But I'm glad I saved it up to this point, and I can see.
Yeah.
I want more of this. I want to see more of this. I don't think this is going to be the last time that me and Tom talk about this. Obviously, very glowing praise, but damn, it earned it. I mean,
Yeah.
you have just
Yeah, and it's got a great buzz too. Yeah, when I was in the comic book shop a couple of weeks back before I'd seen the first two episodes, the guy that runs the comic book shop, he was like, "Yeah, it's a great show," and he was hyping it up, and I knew I wanted to watch it since, like I said, Noah Wiley was involved, and I mentioned that, and that he worked on Fargo, and that surprised one of the other guys at the comic book shop. Was like, really? Like, yeah. And so, but yeah, it's one of those shows that you have to see to understand why it's so good. Me and Mike, could like hype it up as much as we want, but yeah, until you actually dig into it and really dig into the characters, it's a kind of a triple threat because it's got the look, it's got the feel. You feel like you're an alien watching the show, but you also have the writing, which is top notch, but you also have the acting in the characters. The characters are fascinating. Any TV
great acting.
show,
Great acting.
any TV show worth its salt and is worth watching has to have engaging characters because unlike movies that only have to get in and out within an hour and a half, 2 hours. You have to have engaging characters to span a whole series, and if you don't have characters, you don't have a show. So
For 15 to 20 to 30 minutes, like you don't have this
mhm,
modern in modern things.
mhm,
Like this is what I talk about every year. 90 to 90 99 or 95 to 99% of everything that's made in that given year is just okay or trash,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
It's just consumed. This is substantially different because you get such a great, you care. You actually care. And the other thing too is like they introduce these concepts like that in a way that you're like, okay, I would go with that. And they don't kill you with the exposition, telling you every little detail what's going on. It is perfectly written for you to pay attention, and I love that. And actually, I'd say this is the way that this is made is more in kind to the way it used to be made back in the back even 10, even as short as 5 6 7 years ago, if not longer, to where you don't have this massive dump of exposition. This is something like if you have it playing on the set, this is what I had to stop watching it. Like when I was doing something, and I just had it in the background,
oh yeah,
I had to stop doing
uh-huh.
that because I kept getting pulled in to the show, which is
Yeah,
the fucking point of all of this stuff. It's not
mhm,
like a podcast you can just kind of put on. You can, but it's gonna. I don't know how you can't get drawn
yeah,
into it. And the
mhm,
whole theming of this, and I love that they use Peter Pan. That's not a spoiler
mhm,
whatsoever. Um, I
mhm,
think that is it's such a great intersection and appreciation for like kind of a little bit of a not maybe not a full wink and nod to Disney being in Fox, but it's just very interesting therein. That
yeah,
I thought what that worked out
yeah,
very, very, very,
yeah.
very well, perfectly.
Right. Yeah, and you have the incredible hook of the alien, of course, alien crashing on Earth. A lot of times, that as far as concepts, that it would stop there. That would be your story. But that really is kind of it doesn't have a lot of depth to it. It's a great horror story. Maybe not enough to fill a series with. But you have these you have these synthetics for the whole of Alien. You've always had these synthetic people, but you have these hybrids now
Mhm.
where they're taking the brains of small young children and putting them into these
We're
synthetic
and to
beings.
kind of set the table a little bit better, we're talking about Make a Wish kiddos. We're talking about kiddos that are
Yeah,
like they're
absolutely.
terminally ill
Yeah,
or they're not going to make it. They're not. So, which
right.
also it introduces a unique angle that kind of disarms you and what they're doing. But go on.
Right, absolutely. There's a lot of moral ambiguity here,
Right.
as far as whether or not this is okay or not. So you have a lot of deep, meaningful stuff you can play around with within the context of the show, and so you've got a lot of meaty stuff. So a lot of times, you run the risk of when you switch back to the humans, the drama aspects of a show when you have aliens. That's the big draw, is the aliens. You go to the human side of things, and you run the risk of people go, oh, come on, let's get back to the aliens. I want to see those aliens. They've got this interesting hook with these hybrids that's as engaging and interesting enough of a story hook that you're invested in these characters. So when you go back to the aliens, you're almost going, what are those hybrids doing? Let's get back to them. So you've got this really cool aspect of both sides of the story being engaging enough to fill out the whole series. You don't have that downtime where a lot of shows you got to fill out the show, and there's not a lot of filler in this show, is what I'm saying. And it's 8 episodes. I've gotten used to with these British shows of 6 season thing, and then they're out and then don't come back to the next season. And that's a great, the fact that they don't have like 13, 20 episodes to fill out on this thing. Everything is packed into these episodes, and Mike says, these are long episodes, close to an hour, if not an hour, maybe a little bit over. But it doesn't feel like it. You're not definitely not bored during this.
Well,
And as soon as that episode ends,
when,
you're wanting more. Let's get this new
the,
episode, man.
I can remember in key times in very rare moments of my movie going experience in life, like where the audience cheered. Like we're talking like when the original Avengers, that was one of them. I talk about it as an example in a theater in rural-ish Missouri, packed theater. This is their very first Avengers one. When Hulk comes on, everybody cheered. Everybody, and when they had that kind of the Avengers thing, like everybody was going nuts. I would have no doubt had this been a movie or whatever, and you would have saw there's a specific scene, and I'm not going to give up too much away, but where Sidney Chandler, and by this time you kind of already know that this is a synthetic, which plays wonderful homage to other things like Westworld and some other really good shows on the small screen like that too, like Westworld too. Like I know you like that one too. Um, which we might have to throw in the rotation for this little series that we do. Anyway, I don't think we really covered Westworld too much, but in any case, but you get this scene like where the main event happens, and then it's kind of the after effects of it, and then there's kind of a little bit of a mini showdown of like just kind of they go from surviving to like thriving, and there's one specific scene with Wendy, to like where she's with her brother. Her brother's a human, she is the synth. This is not giving anything away. And then there's a certain kind of scene like where it's her one on one with the alien, and like holy shit, I was so excited. I actually went back and rewatched that. It was like whoa, like because they had never explored that before in the movies. Maybe they eventually would, kind of as a throwaway. but I loved how they wove that in there, and it was just like, fuck yeah. Like, I don't, yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh yeah, no, no worries. Just cracking up my
Yeah, and
Seven
that's
Up.
the tropical 7 Up.
Hmm.
Yep. That's the
Yep.
good one.
Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
but anyway, it was like, like watching that. I had to stop, and like, what,
Hmm.
what, and then like rewatch it
What?
because it was so dope. It was just so awesome,
Hmm.
and you accept that, and there is no kind of like this criticism of woke or whatever. It's like,
Hmm.
you don't get to say nothing about that because they clearly
Hmm.
said that this was a synth. And if you're fucking Data, essentially Data's daughter, essentially, you're gonna be, super strong or whatever. You're gonna have abilities beyond what you or I could have, like that. What I love that. And how that
Right.
ended, like when they kind of later on kind of showed that connective tissue,
Mhm.
it was just
Yep.
and in that particular scene, it was actually like where you actually gave a shit about her, the main character, because she
Mhm.
doesn't exactly come away unscathed either, right? So I
Right.
love that
Right.
it
It's
wasn't
not a.
just like Superman showing up on screen and
Yeah.
and then it's over because it's very boring.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Perfectly done.
yeah, and then the thing with woke and all that, what
We're
a
kind of
lot of it
joking. We're
originally
kind of
came from.
joking, but
Right, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But there is a thing called Mary Sue,
right.
where the character does nothing wrong. It's fantastic, and yeah, you do run the risk of running into that. You can make the case of Superman maybe being a Mary Sue, a male version, or Conan the Barbarian, and we
Sure.
we love those characters. But yeah, you could Wendy could be that, but with bad writing you could do that. But with great writing, you're invest in that character, and yeah, she doesn't come out all that well. And these hybrids aren't like super. They are superhuman, but they are very human at the same time,
Right.
and they do have these fundamental flaws. Being humans,
Well,
and we do get to explore that with each of the hybrids. They're very much different
well,
in and of themselves,
you,
and they have their own benefits and struggles within
it
themselves.
but kind of going back to that how they do the story and how they play that out, it really depends on the acting and also the framing of that. So these sense are since you're children, they are the Lost Boys, which also calls back to like half a dozen other things that we can do think, which
Mm-hmm.
I love. It the analogy and how, and I would also say, fairy tales are not different for Ridley Scott and Prometheus. So the fact that Noah could pick up on that, bring it in, do his own version of that, and still weave it into to how it's done. There is kind of a morality play a little bit too with this a little bit, and I love that they don't tell you anything. They don't tell you what to think, what to feel. They just show you the story as it is. They do kind of they. It's funny too because you can almost feel the tension build too because these are kids, right, that have
Mm-hmm.
been transplanted from their
Mm-hmm.
biological bodies that are no longer available to them to
Mm-hmm.
this. It's
Mm-hmm.
one way trip, right? So it's a little bit of Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Like Frankenstein a little bit too, but you see this thing like where there's natural tension there when they start talking to the characters and they're doing certain things, and you almost you kind of flinch a little bit like when they say machine or because how would you talk like that? See, this is the funny part because this is so perfect because had certain aspects of culture presented themselves in a certain ways, it would have been a far different story for the culture and politics and this woke or anti. I'm just kind of using that as a because when you have good writing, number one, and good storytelling and good acting, you can present very complicated things in a way. Thankfully, though, that nothing is really
And
off
you
off.
could also yeah, you could also overcomplicate things
Sure,
by introducing a lot of other things as well into this that don't need to be there.
right,
And I'm very thankful that they
right.
didn't. This is very much stripped down. This is a science fiction story that loves its science fiction, that doesn't try to go beyond telling a great science fiction story. There's no grandstanding here.
Yeah.
There's no getting on a pulpit to shout out about different things. This is very much a science fiction story in love with its own ideas and are exploring those ideas, and that's a beautiful thing about science fiction. That and everybody is able to come to the table and eat and enjoy these ideas and have fun with them. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like you said, these characters are wonderful. I think I have a suspicion that the lower rating, I think it has become kind of a meme. As a little bit of spoiler, you got the Wendy character and her brother were big into Ice Age. And there's a image of Wendy, and there's like a superimposed image of one of the characters from Ice Age next to her that's being thrown around saying, "This is an alien Earth." And people are like, what what's this? And and freaking out and not understanding what it means to the characters and how it plays a part. I don't see it as just throwing Ice Age in there just to do it. The animated movie, it's a bonding moment between the sister and the brother, and yeah, it's realistic. I mean, who hasn't had a cartoon movie that affected siblings together, and like I said, it makes sense in the context of
Well, the,
this show.
there are two kinds of human beings in this in the aliens, those that are on top and those that are on bottom. And aliens masterfully show that. Even Aliens 3, I would argue, you even get that a little bit more campy, albeit for Aliens 3 quality, where you fall in there, whatever. But when they
I'm one of those rare people that actually enjoyed Alien Resurrection, the fourth movie.
right,
So you could
that one
question
too,
my
right.
taste there
But
if you want. Yeah.
but even the bad guy, right? Even the bad guy. So you are firmly put within Wendy's. You're essentially, she's obviously the main protagonist. Her brother's ancillary to that, but like there's a scene like where there's the head CEO of this company, which apparently Earth has devolved into this, 5 big corporations that are, blah blah blah, whatever. It
Right.
doesn't really matter. But
Yep.
it fits
And
in the Weyland Yutani kind of like it presents it in a way that to where when you get to know the background of the world, but in the alien world, it can kind of leave you a little cold. Like, oh my god, like humanity is kind of like lost its humanness. But this kind of
hmm
it puts you in the middle of that, like when it's going on. The prequel to it,
hmm
I guess, would be the best way to say it.
hmm
But even the
Right.
bad guy, you can kind of see the separation with the bad guy. And when I say the bad guy, it's patently obvious. Like what there are many bad guys. I'll just put that way. But with that
Right.
being said,
But
there's kind of a scene like where Wendy is talking to the CEO guy, the young, barefoot, aloof, you know, youngest trillionaire, bullshit, blah 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 blah, whatever. And they're having this conversation, and you're like, oh my god. Even though Wendy's a robot, kind of, sort of, in between, you're like,
Mhm.
I really hate this guy, like, because he's essentially
Right.
toying with her relationship with a brother, and like he says these things that are very on the spot of like what kind of like what does the dark side of Peter Pan look like as far as like the Lost Boys and Never Never Land
Mhm.
and that kind of thing, and like um the way that Wendy is just wholesome, and her brother and that
Mhm.
relationship is kind of used to kind of show this balance. It really makes you hate that the bad guy even more, like whether he has something to do with
Mhm.
something at the end, we don't know
Yeah.
yet, but
Yeah. And
um just
a lot of times,
really good, really well
yeah,
done.
and Yeah, and I think yeah, when you say bad guys, it's in quotes because it's obvious the the great thing about a TV show is and in some movies you could get to explore these characters and you see both sides of things that all the quote unquote bad guys in the show have their own moral build up. They're operating in their own sensibility, and the show explores as the show goes on and episodes carry on. You get focused on different characters and you start to understand what motivates the characters and what cause them to do what they do. And in their world, they're not the bad guy. It's you start to understand their how you may not co-sign it, but what they're doing, but you kind of understand where they're going at it because there's that the young genius guy, and then you have his kind of henchman
Right.
that kind of fills out that plays kind of the bad guy in the sense he carries out bad news and kind of enforces things, and he's very of the business mindset, and even today in corporate in the corporate world, there's some bad stuff that goes on with to the benefit of the corporation, maybe not to the benefit of the individual that works for the corporation. And and this is kind of reflected and amplified in this, in the sense that Wendy and all the other hybrid synths, they see them as their property.
Right.
Even corporations today might see some of their employees as property as well. But this is kind of like it's written into the contract. They are property, and they're not human, so they're not seen as human, and they're moved around like that. So they don't have the same rights as and then even the humans don't have quite the rights that we enjoy today, and it just kind of shows you, um, the evils or the potential evil of a corporation. And
Perfect.
it's a living, breathing entity in and of itself. It has to protect itself, so and that might be at odds with the individual. And I enjoy seeing pictures of Timothy Oliphant. He did consciously do the white hair in respect and as a nod towards Roy Batty in Blade Runner, which to Ridley Scott, he has said that it's canon. Blade Runner is within the world of Alien. They share the world together. So yeah, he's kind of rocking the white hair to
Well,
be similar to the character in Blade Runner
well, and
that
and and
Rutger Hauer played.
well, and not just that, but also that I love that connective tissue. That makes perfect sense. You also had that with Prometheus, with David Eight, the
Hmm.
android, the Michael Fassbender's character. There, you kind of
Hmm.
get to used to like what these kind of things are they're in. But again, it's just perfectly done. And this definitely makes up for all the years and in between, and like getting Prometheus. And I love Prometheus, so I but what I like tends to not be like what the general and Prometheus did okay. It didn't do great, but
Hmm.
this I'm so glad to see this kind of come back in. And there's just so much great lore there, I guess. I don't know how to put it, but like there's just it furthers the story and the adventure, and gives such a fresh coat, a fresh look on the franchise. And they do it in such a way.
Hmm.
They don't do it in a ham-fisted way. They do it in a way that is like an onion, like this kind of thing. Like,
Hmm.
I'm very curious to see how and where we go from here. But um,
Yeah,
I
and
guess
I will say, go ahead.
well, I was just, oh, well, we'll go to the final question because I think we're getting close to the end. But go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, a lot of times when people play around with putting children's minds into adult bodies, um, it can be handled badly. I think it's handled pretty well here. I'm going to maybe garner some hate from the audience, but I've always disliked the movie Big. That movie does not work for me, for the simple fact that when the child gets into the body of Tom Hanks, he must have had some brain damage or something, because he's not acting like, what was that kid supposed to be, 12 or 13? He's acting like some brain damaged child. He becomes more like a 5 or 4 or 5 year old than the 12-year old that he's supposed to be, and that just kind of ruined the magic of that movie. It just didn't work for me, because of that. Whereas this movie does a fairly good job of, representing the particular age, that the kids are supposed to be at. But it is kind of a struggle, because you don't know what a real child would, act like, or what their level of intelligence. The only thing that kind of threw me out on this is, obviously, since they're going to be focused on, you know children that have a terminal illness, the pool of people they could pull from, or children they could pull from, is probably limited. But you would think they would go for more high intelligence, children, super brained, in which they did on some of them. Some of the children are, but there's the two the two of them, like him and the other kid, that are kind of in cohorts with each other. They're kind of they're special children. They're maybe not as intelligent as the others. But yeah, I would just think that they probably have maybe tried to aim for more intelligent, but yeah, that is what it is. I'll also say one more thing about, Hermit, played by Alex, Lawther, who plays, Wendy's brother.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen the episode of Black Mirror that he's in,
I don't think
but
so.
if you have, that kind of colors your opinion of this guy
Okay.
quite a
Okay.
bit. So I couldn't get it out of my head for the first couple of episodes, of him being that guy from Black Mirror. But he's a very sympathetic character in this, show, so he's kind of redeeming himself, from that. It's owed to his acting, because he's incredible in that episode of Black Mirror, so that you see him as that character. So, but it's but yeah, he's developing himself into another character in this show. But yeah, when you first start seeing it, if you have him from the old show, or that old episode of Black Mirror, it does color your opinion of him, no, from the start. But
Yeah,
yeah,
they
um,
they perfectly play into the world, and they do excellent world building. Especially they don't offend anything from the prior canon or whatever. I mean,
mhm,
if you're gonna be that on that line, on kind of like sharpshooting like that, you're probably gonna be on the side of I
mhm,
loved Alien 3 and Resurrection and all the not that there's anything that
mhm,
that bad with that, but it is I like how for once in a while for once they're doing something right. So like please
mhm.
continue.
Yeah.
You not only do you get pure robot, pure android, you get the synth that's in between, and you also get what one character calls transhumanism, whatever. And but you also get a human being who is augmented, a cyborg. So that just kind of that has going back to like Van Damme, and I might.
Who has a cool knife in his hand?
Right. Exactly. Well, that's kind of part of the thing. Like it's also a blowtorch or some kind of gun, or whatever. But like, go gadget, whatever, it works. So and I gotta
Yeah.
say the aesthetics from matching to retro, active like these spaceships that are like this green, you automatic. As a matter of fact, they greet you with that that
Mhm,
the computer interface that you would get if you were
mhm,
on the original thing. Like it
mhm,
it just it blends in so well with it. It makes sense because if you're thinking, well, how come they all look like gee whiz space, you know, maybe they got space guns or space tablet or what, like on Earth, the
mhm,
technology is way ahead, and then
mhm,
you realize like there's a timeline to this thing, and like there's also some other things that are going on which are very interesting that only the nerds of the nerds are going to
mhm,
dissect. Like in other words, the speed of light, right? So FTL, so like there's this big
mhm,
lag of time, and we can put people to sleep for eons practically. But anyway, it just goes back to the world building. Things
Mm-hmm.
things like this that are rare, like where it is true good sci-fi, but also horror. And I would say we haven't really talked about the horror aspect, but it's in spades with this. I mean, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
smaller screen thing, but like still, they don't hold
Yeah,
back. They
it's
really don't
yeah,
hold
it's got
back.
the chops. Yeah, we talked about World War Z in our podcast, which is very much an action movie, even though it has zombies. This movie, yeah, this series is very much a horror series.
Right.
There's a lot of horror going on, and in fact, we won't get into it. No spoilers, please. But I have seen all 5 episodes that are out so far, and the word is that I have to agree that the 5th episode is probably the best
Oh,
alien movie that's that's been released so far. Yeah, it's quality stuff. And each episode, like I said, it's quality things.
right,
These it's it goes back. It respects your time.
right.
The thing about
That's a good way to
in
put it.
this series. Mhm. In this series, binge worthy is about shows that respect your time. I when we first started getting into streaming, HBO started coming out with shows like Sopranos. There were the top thing was the writing, and then I think that's kind of gotten lost. It's about pumping out shows that and trying to get people hooked, and a lot of these new shows have gone back to not respecting your time. They just we got to fill 13 episodes, 10, 13 episodes, get them out there. They might have a good story, but you could easily trim those episodes down to a good 6 or 8 episodes and trim out the fat and and respect a person's time. I've got to where I don't want to spend 13 episodes
Right,
on a show that I kind of like. Yeah, I was doing that. I was getting into these shows, and well, I saw the first 2 seasons. They were really good. I might as well finish out this
right,
the seasons. But it's like, why if you're not having fun or if it's just okay, there's other things you can be doing, things that you actually enjoy, way more. So yeah, this series is about recommending, or at least seeing if a show's worth your time to invest. And this one has it in spades. It's you're not not having to get into like there's the idea of well, if a series has like 9 seasons to it, I got something
right.
to watch for a good chunk of time. But we're not really interested in that. We're interested in good stories, great stories that are told with great acting, great directing, and like I said, above all, respects your time. Because I know, Mike, your time is precious, my time is precious, and you want to spend it on something that's worth watching. And if you've made it this far, and I really appreciate the audience giving us your time, and I hope we respected that time as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Tom. I have this scale that I reference, codify, and it's 1, 2, 3, meaning it usually goes like this: the first season that you see of a show, then by season 2 it gets twice as worse, and maybe you started out with a positive note, but and then by the time you get to season 3, it gets 3 times as worse. And of course, by this, most people have paired off and they're just they're done. But however, that can go the other direction. So I'm hoping we didn't get 13 or 22 episodes. 22 is like never gonna happen again, but 13 is like a
Yeah.
good solid. But 8, I'm down. We'll go with it. I'm hoping that we see that season 2 is twice as good as season 1. If that's gonna happen, hopefully it continues on. But I would also say there has to be a lid, a ceiling on these things. And sometimes we were just kind of mentioning it off in the park here, in the offing, before we went live or before we started recording. That Rick and Morty is kind of like one of these things. And I would also say The Boys, Amazon show, is kind of like you kind of get to the point like where you're essentially retelling the same thing, or more importantly, the CW was guilty of this for the Arrowverse, call it, for Flash and Green. Like once you got to the, it was just a rehash of the same cookie cutter kind of thing. Thankfully, this comes fresh. It is absolutely, even if you have nothing to do anything with this, I think this sufficiently stands on its own and does a really good job of world building. You don't really need to know about Alien or Aliens or Prometheus or any of that, really. That helps orient you, but it's not like required homework like the last 10 Marvel movies and miniseries and whatever. And there's nothing wrong with Marvel. If you get your kicks from that, that's great too. But this is a little bit more cohesive and more shorter, and I love what they're doing. I want to see. This is one of the rare things. Like, I'm gonna probably say this is probably gonna be easily up there with the top of 2025. Stay tuned for the end of this year for like what makes Tom's list and what makes my list when we do our New Year's show. But having said,
yeah, I've actually been in the theater and seen movies. Current movies. Usually, I'm behind on that stuff. So yeah, and I've seen a good chunk of stuff this year. Where I think we could actually do we don't normally do it, but kind of an end of the year kind of roundup of what was the best, what was the worst. Probably won't do like a top 10 because I
no,
don't
I
really
don't think we have that
believe in
much.
that crap, but to really do that. But I will say this again. This is Disney. People have fun with that. They go, if you think about it, in the aliens, the alien queen is now a Disney
Princess.
princess. Yeah,
you
see,
know,
see what I did there?
you,
Um,
joking aside, if only Disney would come around on a lot of their properties and just do what they need to do, that they know that they need to do, that many people beyond you and me have criticized. um the thing is that, like, when you have that synergy, you joke about it, but Alien Queen could absolutely be, it would play into more eyeballs on Disney classic material, which is what they ideally want. But I'm trying not to take a piss on a good thing right now, but like, I would
yeah,
say
well,
there need to do more of this and less of some other things, but we'll get there
right.
eventually.
Well, you got Alien Earth, and then next month even you got the new Tron movie. So you got some cool sci-fi
Very
stuff
true.
coming from Disney, which is I would not not have said that a few years
No,
ago. Before they grabbed 20th Century Fox, especially, or Fox. But yeah, the only bad thing, gotta remember, Disney is a big corporation, much like the corporations in Alien Earth. They are bad inherently. This show probably won't get a physical media release, which is a tragedy. I would love to own the first season of this on 4K. Prove me wrong, Disney. Release this on 4K. I would love to be wrong. I would love to own that. They do that with some of their Disney shows. I think you can get Grogu and Friends on 4K, and then some of the Marvel series, but they don't show any love towards the Fox material. You can't get the new Hellraiser movie on physical media, which is tragedy. I want to own that. But yeah, so yeah, its odds are against it coming out on physical media, but I would love to have it. And that's I think that's where I'll wrap it up with the show. Yes, it is binge worthy. I watched all five episodes that are out currently and are anticipating the last three. I'm kind of sad that there's only three, which is kind of odd for me. Usually I'm about when is this season going to wrap up, man? Come on. But yeah, this is a keeper. This is definitely a keeper.
agreed. Yeah, I've been ML.
And I'm Tom. Gotta get that alien repellent.